Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Star Rail, and in today's video, let's talk about it. We've got a lot of info right now that is confirmed, right? The banners that are coming up in 2.2 fully confirmed, the new 5-star characters for 2.3, and then I've listed out the possible reruns that I think are looking like they're due soon. So, which ones are worth going for? There's some really big decisions here, and I want to give you my take as a new player. You know, thanks to the anniversary event, I now know I'm 50. Well, it was 54 days. I guess now it's 55. So almost 2 months now of playing the game. I want to give you my take as a new player of which way I'm going, and also maybe what way you might go as even a longer term player as well for things that are looking pretty valuable. So let's go. Let's dive in. I think that there are a couple of really big decisions here that will shape the direction you want to go in your account, and I think will shape you building a well-rounded account that can cover multiple things. So one of the first decisions, let's put it in a preservation orange, I suppose, is do you go for Locha, Aventurine, but now we also have Fu Xuan coming up. Also, possibly Hua in terms of sustain. They would be the ones that I think are certainly due pretty soon. Interesting enough, we've been very stacked with sustain right here. Hua is the only remaining 5-star sustain left to come. So my initial prediction was that she might come in 2.3. Maybe that is actually pushed out to 2.4. It's hard to know for sure, but one would think we wouldn't go for absolutely ages without another 5-star sustain. So perhaps there's a brand new one coming soon-ish. Or maybe they pace Hua out. Or maybe they just drop them all together and then leave you for ages without a 5-star sustain option. Either way, I think you definitely want to get at least one, possibly even two of these. Although, I will say the second one, and this is what I'm going to do, I think I'm actually going to wait for whatever the new 5-star sustain is, because there will be another new one, not super soon, but soon-ish. I would think. We're not going to go crazy far without one. Between these, what would you go for? I talked about this in detail in my Aventurine video. I think, and certainly looking at the details, when we broke it down, looking at how good Luocha was as well in that video, we saw that at the time, pre-Aventurine release, Fu Xuan was without question the most used sustain for Memory of Chaos. She was number 1. Locha was the most used number 2, and Hua was number 3. Again, possibly that is because people already had Locha and Fu Xuan. Maybe they didn't want to pull for Hua because she was the third one that was released. But Fu Xuan was number 1. Now, as you guys know, Aventurine has come out since then, and I think Aventurine is probably even better as a new player, right? You're coming in with a free 5-star Dr. Ratio. You've got follow-up a character there that's really strong, and you've got a great synergy with Aventurine. I just think Aventurine is fantastic. Very easy to make him super powerful in the simulated universe with Preservation Path as well. So he's just a monster for endgame content. I think Aventurine overall is the better pull slightly to Fu Xuan. There's not much between them, but I think he's slightly better. As a newer player, I think it makes a bit more sense to go for him. But again, this is up to you. If you hate Aventurine, I would then strongly recommend going for Fu Xuan instead. I would definitely want to get one of these two, right? You definitely want one of these two. As I said in my Locha video and my Aventurine video as well, I think that the basically the 4-star abundance characters, you know, like Lynx and Gallagher in particular. I've got a Bailu. They're really good, actually. I think they're more accessible for sure than good 4-star preservation characters. Now, that might change in the future, of course. I think right now, I would definitely prioritize a preservation 5-star limited sustain. So I would definitely be looking to grab one of these. I think if you don't get one of these two characters, you're leaving yourself in a bit of a rougher spot. Now, Locha, I think he's really good. Obviously, his banner is gone. You can't get him anymore, so either you got him or you didn't. He's particularly good, I think, with Destruction. So he's probably very likely to be really good for Firefly, actually. And then, of course, again, if you hate all of these, Huahua's coming up, and she's a great option too, particularly good with dot teams, right? Because she can boost attack and restore energy, so she's great. But I think the Preservation are a bit more yeah, I think their value is a slight bit higher than the 5-star Abundance, at least right now. And yeah, I pulled for Aventurine as a new player, and I think that's really high value. If you don't like him, I would definitely go for the Fushuan. Now, second thing, when I came into the game, here's a fun question. Who is the most powerful character in the game? Like I said, I've been playing for a couple of months now. One of the first things I saw as a new player when I was looking into it was, Fushuan is the most powerful character. Well, obviously, Aventurine has come in, which, is very much her equal, I think. Fushuan, though. Then I saw, I think, a bigger brain take, which was Ruan Mei is the best character. And then, of course, Acheron came out, and now arguably Acheron is the best character. Hard to draw a line. I would definitely say Fushuan from... I don't know. They're so different in their roles, it's hard to say. And you're building a full team, right? But probably Acheron and Ruan Mei even more impactful, but Fushuan close, and therefore, by extension, Aventurine is close. Acheron is sort of a unique case. Let's jump over to the Harmony first, right? The game, I like to call the game Harmony Star Rail in a big way, because Harmony characters are so insanely strong. Robin is coming in, so let's actually do this. This is, I think, another big decision point. We've got Robin and Ruan Mei. What do these two characters do? These are your 5-star limited characters that boost your team. And I think this is an interesting thing. In-game, you can see I only got A's on some of these. I'm very bad. I got S on some. It was actually a really fun thing. But this was interesting, this Tides of War game mode, because this sort of breaks down the team comps in the game at the moment. So I want to break this down. What are those team comps? I basically put them in order of how they showed up. You've got Dot. And let's look at this in terms of Harmony. And you can also be thinking about this in terms of your sustain as well. And you can probably tell from where I'm going, by the way, that I am very much in favor of sustain, then support, and then damage probably being the third rung. Obviously, Acheron being kind of her own thing, right? As the sort of breaks free of not needing necessarily a Harmony character, right? You've run her pure Nihility. She's sort of unique and really exceptional in that sense. But Dot, Dual Destruction, I'm putting in as a type. Break damage then. And this is a new one that's really coming in. Follow-up. So these were the big ones. And then I would also put in a couple of ones that were not exactly featured in that, but somewhat. But those are Acheron and Mono Quantum. What I want to look at is specifically like which harmonies are ideal for each one. So for Hypercarry, we obviously, had Bronya the first. We'll just talk about 5-stars here. And then Sparkle as a newer one. Hypercarry is about, characters putting really big buffs on a single target. So Don Hung, Imbibitor Lune is a great example of a Hypercarry character getting buffed up by harmonies, really single target buff focused. Now, when we look at these other types, here is the thing. Right now, there's no question really that, and this is why Ruan Mei is so good, that Dot, Dual Destruction, these have sort of been the previous ones. Break and Follow-Up are really coming into the limelight sort of now, more recently, but these are like the older types. These are very much Ruan Mei's playground, honestly. But here's the thing. Ruan Mei is really the break specialist, right? That's what she really specializes in. I think going forwards is going to be break teams. So characters like Boothill, which are really focused on break. And I've heard Firefly might be similar, focused on break as well. I think this is going to be a new damage archetype moving forwards. And that is Ruan Mei's specialty. Robin, her specialty. Again, remember, these are specialties. Am I saying they're bad for Dot? Obviously not. These are absolutely fantastic characters because they're team-wide damage boosters. They are amazing for both of these types, but they specialize for specifically in break for Ruan Mei and follow-up for Robin. I would predict most certainly that, this time next year, we're not going to be running Ruan Mei or Robin as the best in-class support for a Dot team. There's going to be, interestingly for Dot specifically, there's good potential for a Nihility, like a debuffer, that's actually stronger. In fact, funny enough, specifically, and I think it was the Trotter effect one right here, it was actually Acheron, right? It was Kafka, Black Swan, and Acheron, right? You could put in Pela instead. But again, right here, there's no harmony. The Dot team was actually going with Acheron, which is somewhat unique because she's not buffing or debuffing. She's just sort of scaling off of what they do. But you could easily have a debuffer that's specific for dot. You could easily have a harmony, again, a team-wide harmony that's buffing up your team that can specifically boost dot damage, or that, let's say, specifically boosts your damage the lower your health is or something. So it's like, yeah, they bring a bunch of team-wide buffs like Ruan Mei or Robin do, but they are specifically good in the same way that Robin is specifically, ideal for follow-up. Someone that scales damage the lower the health of the team is. A harmony that's specifically good for dual destruction. I am curious if Sunday will be a harmony or not. I'm very curious. That was sort of shaping my predictions before, where I thought Ruan Mei would certainly come in 2.3, because I was thinking Sunday's probably 2.4 and probably harmony as well. But as you guys pointed out in the comments, and thank you for that, something I got wrong actually was that, well, the lore, like Sunday is so obviously harmony in the lore. I mean, maybe we're even wrong about that because he was doing some crazy shit. But I mean, he's like the uber harmony guy, right? Doesn't necessarily mean he'll be harmony in game. I mean, Topaz is obviously, one of the 10 stone hearts. They're preservation in the lore. So is Jade, but they're not preservation in their in-game path. Jing Yuan, as General of the Luofu, pretty big hunt guy. Kind of hunt. And now he's a very hunty erudition, but he is nonetheless erudition in game. So Sunday, maybe not. Anyway, that's a bit of an aside. But I think there will be more supports specializing in this. Here's the thing, though. Bronya and Sparkle, the single target hypercarry ones, they are more focused, like I said, on the single target boosting. The reason why Ruan Mei has stood out as so valuable, I think Robin does as well, is that they boost up your whole team. So they scale very well when you've got multiple damage dealers in the team. And that is just extremely valuable. I think especially in Pure Fiction, that has emerged as extremely, extremely valuable, where you often are running multiple damage dealers and can possibly even give up a sustain for an extra damage or buffer, right? These multi-target buffers are very powerful. Like I said, Sparkle and Bronya is the standard and the limited in reverse order. They are more focused on the single target, but they still have team-wide buffs, but they are more focused on the hyper carry. I would personally, again, think it's extremely high value to get either Robin or Ruan Mei. Now, we don't know exactly when Ruan Mei is coming. I think it'll probably be soon. Like, my initial prediction was 2.3 because, like Boot Hill, I thought would just fit in because Sunday I thought might be 2.4. And I was kind of thinking he'd be Harmony. That might change things. Like, it would sort of space the Harmonies out. Now we know for sure that Boot Hill's all about break. I've heard that Firefly is really focused on break as well from comments. So I think that Ruan Mei, she does fit in well coming back soon as the sort of the best 5-star. She is the break person. We're having break DPS coming into the game more and more now as a stronger archetype that they're pushing. I think it makes sense for her to come back soon. I'd be shocked if it was months away, if it's pushed back. I think she comes back soon, and she's going to be a big money earner for them as well. So I think there's good motivation to bring her back soon. So if you don't go for Robin, you could wait for Ruan Mei. Which one is better? From what I've been hearing, I've been hearing that they're pretty similar, but I don't know. We have to see the actual gameplay and testing to know. But I think that they're both going to be just absolutely insane. A couple of the best heroes in the game. Like I said, it sort of depends as well which team you want to focus on. For me, I think I'm going to go Robin. Again, because I've got Aventurine, got Dr. Ratio. I think I might actually skip the break stuff. Like, I personally really like Boot Hill. He's super cool, but I might push getting him back. Like, I just don't know if it's possible, honestly. But I think you could go break focused. You could be like, yo, I'll grab like Boot Hill, Sam, and Ruan Mei. Might be difficult, you might need a lot of Jade to do it, but that could work. Or you could go for, again, more follow-up, which would be, for me, like Aventurine, Robin, and then possibly Jade, maybe. It depends which way you want to lead your account. My concern right now is, personally, for me, I have Black Swan, so I've got a good dot foundation right there. I've got, obviously, Aventurine and Dr. Ratio. I've got a good follow-up foundation. It becomes very intense in terms of pulls and Stellar Jade to build up both of those types of team and archetype while also building up others. For me, I'm sort of going to be... I've got Sparkle as well. So I think I'll probably keep going like Hyper Carry, do some dot and follow-up. I think for me to stretch to break teams as well and dual destruction as well is too much. So for me, I'm actually moving away from Firefly and the destruction stuff. I'm like, maybe I can maybe it's still worth getting Ruan Mei as well to have 2 team-wide buffers for like pure fiction. It's kind of insane. But yeah, there you go. Another team worth mentioning here as well. Acheron is like none if she's, well, I mean, you can run her with obviously a support. You could also run her with none. Obviously, if she's E2, you'd run her with a Harmony. But if she's not, and running her with double Nihility is super viable. So she could actually be like no support whatsoever. I didn't mention Mono Quantum too much, but obviously Silverwolf is probably going to come back, I would think, soon enough. And that ties in very well with, you know, the 2.3 boss mode. So she could come back, I think. She's due a rerun soonish anyway. So that's one to certainly look for. And same with Zila, building a Mono Quantum team with like a Fushuan, if you're into that sort of thing. Lots of quantum characters potentially coming up. Silverwolf can implant Quantum Weakness. That could be a very flexible team for the bot. And the same thing with Boothill, in fact, right? With Silverwolf implanting weaknesses could be very helpful for Mono Quantum. Handle no matter what the single target boss mode, the Apocalyptic Shadow throws at you, you can handle it with Mono Quantum. Boothill implanting physical weakness, again, no matter what it throws at you, I think certainly for the first good chunk of time, Boothill's easily going to handle that boss mode very, very, very well. So I think he's good too. But again, as a newer player, I have to say I would be looking at 5-star limited preservation first and foremost. And if you're not keen on those, and you skip Luocha, I'd certainly be thinking, okay, I want to be ready for whenever Wawa comes back. Like, I probably want to grab her, or definitely be prepared. Like, I don't think you can skip all these limited sustains. I think that is not a smart play. I think you really want definitely a preservation would be, again, it's my recommendation. I think that you also really, really want a 5-star limited team-wide Harmony. I think they are just too strong. If you have Acheron, you can probably get by with just one. Acheron is so sort of universal at the moment. You can carry one side of whatever game mode you're doing, and then you can have your Harmony in the other. If you don't have Acheron, you know, these are even higher value, I think, because, you know, a team-wide Harmony buffer is going to be just super value for you forever. So, or not forever, but for a very, very, very long time. So I'm thinking of going for Robin. She fits in well right now with the whole follow-up thing, but I think you could easily wait for Ruan Mei as well. That's both totally great choices. Go with, again, the rule of cool. Go with whichever one is your favorite. Now, I haven't touched on Topaz. I only briefly touched on Boothill. I think Boothill is looking pretty solid, actually. Again, because he can implant that physical weakness, I think that gives him a lot of flexibility, certainly for a new player, and especially for that single target boss mode. I think that's pretty cool. So, yeah, he's got a lot of viability there, but he's obviously going to be much weaker in pure fiction. But I think he's a viable choice for sure. I think he's going to be an absolute single target monster. So Boothill is looking as a very viable choice, but for me would come, again, damage dealers generally coming after I'm picking up the sustain or the Harmony. Topaz, I'm not so keen on, actually. Again, Topaz is obviously really good with follow-up, but I think that Robin is more valuable and more universal, right? Topaz, more single target focused, not so good in pure fiction. Topaz, very specifically follow-up team. Robin versus Topaz, I think Robin is the best Harmony, the best support for a follow-up team. But I mean, we'll see maybe comparisons, Robin versus Topaz, and that can help you make the decision. But I think Robin is really good with, likely going to be really good with dot teams, good with dual destruction, like much like Ruan Mei. She's going to be pretty darn universal. And Topaz is not pretty darn universal. So I think Robin is the better pickup, generally speaking. Topaz with Dr. Ratio in particular, she also quite wants E1, S1. It's not essential, but it helps a lot. Those extra debuffs with Dr. Ratio in particular really help. Whereas, you know, you could just put in, let's say, Aventurine, Dr. Ratio, Robin instead, and then have a debuffer as your fourth option. And that could be someone like a Pela, who's easily accessible. You could even go for like a Silverwolf if you got Silverwolf. Or, again, I strongly suspect we're going to see more a big Nihility debuffer, I think, will come to go with Acheron. And like, especially with a Silverwolf rerun, that's something, you know, I'm very curious because I think Silver Wolf rerun is so high value with the single target boss mode and with Acheron, right? And with Dr. Ratio even. Like she's very, very nice. They like to run like best, best DPS of the past with best DPS of the future. Best sustain of the past with arguably best sustain of the future. They like to do this stuff, right? They do. I think, again, Robin and Ruan Mei, they like to run things with very similar value back to back to force you to like choose between them. I think they could easily do something like Silver Wolf and like Silver Wolf main competitor. I think that is high likelihood to come soonish as well. So there you go. In terms of these other reruns, Blade for me, I think is pretty low value, honestly. Yeah, I think Blade is pretty low value. I strongly suspect Firefly is just going to be better than Blade. So let me touch on these ones. We haven't touched them. So for me, like Topaz is not too keen on Topaz. She's okay, but not great. Boot Hill, I think, is a pretty solid option. But yeah, right now, like we've got Jing Liu, we've got Firefly, and we've got Blade potentially coming up soon. I think that Firefly is maybe the one to go for here. Jing Liu is obviously very flexible. I'm biased because I don't really like her character, actually. Jing Liu, she's a really solid option for Ice DPS. That's very good. Firefly, I think, is going to be really strong as well. I'd be shocked if Firefly was weak. Blade, he's not the strongest. Yeah, I think he's a lot of potential in the future. Again, going back to that, you could easily have a Harmony that like boosts max HP, where again scales your damage the less HP you have. You could easily see Blade have a power surge in the future with more specifically tailored supports, but they're not here right now. So yeah, I really like Blade as a character. His ult is one of my favorites. It's just creepy. I love it, but I don't know about him. Zila, I think Zila seems pretty underrated, honestly. She's a really good single target damage dealer that can also function very well in AoE. But I mean, she's definitely is being power crept, like some of these older characters, like Blade as well. I feel like it's hard to pick up Zila if you're single target focused, when I think Boot Hill is probably a bit more flexible, or it's hard to pick her up when Acheron is there, that sort of thing. But obviously, if you like the character, go for it. Argenti as well. I do think Argenti is coming back soon, and my expectation, like Argenti is a really solid character, but my expectation is that Jade is likely more powerful. Generally speaking, I feel like this is a bit of a theme here. The newer the character, in a way, the more powerful they are. So yeah, that's sort of up to you if you got a strong preference either way. Argenti's a really fun. I really enjoyed his quest line. It was really fun. But yeah, those would be my recommendations. Would be really recommend Aventurine or Fu Xuan. I would definitely get one of those. I would really recommend Robin or Ruan Mei. You definitely want to get one of those. And then after that, it becomes more flexible. Do you want to go do you like, again, which archetype do you like playing around? It's sort of the vibe here. Dual Destruction. Well, if you like that, Jing Liu's been up right now. Firefly is going to be strong. Blade's going to be coming back. Okay. And there could be a specialized Harmony for them, but probably later on. If you like the break team, go for Ruan Mei. And Boot Hill could be a great option for you as well. If you like follow-up, you could even get Robin and Topaz. That's pretty intense. They're both in the same phase. But yeah, there you go. Let me know. What do you guys think? I've broken it down for me. I pulled for Aventurine. I am going to be pulling for Robin. And then probably, because I have no self-control, I'll probably pull for Jade. I think that's going to be my thing. But obviously, by the time we get to Jade, we'll have a really good idea for what's coming in 2.4. In fact, it should be announced during the Jade banner what's coming into even further ahead. Like, let me think. We're in Aventurine right now, and we know 2 ahead. By the time we get to Jade, we should know 2 ahead as well. So we can make a pretty informed decision right there and then. But yeah, for me, I'm going Aventurine and Robin. I think I'm skipping the Topaz because I think she's too niche for me as a new account. She is too niche. I think I'd rather probably just get Boot Hill, but I don't think I'm going to be able to have enough passes for him. So I'm going Aventurine, Robin, and Jade, possibly what comes in the future. We'll see when we get there. Robin's going to be a big upgrade, big upgrade to my Pure Fiction. And And obviously, it's going to be a big upgrade everywhere. And by the time we get to 2.3, we'll obviously get to see what their kits actually do. And yeah, we'll also see how tough this single target boss mode is. So that's my thoughts for now. Let me know what your plans are. What are you doing? Who are you pulling for? And most importantly, tell me why as well. I'm really interested. And if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe. But there you go. My rambly thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.